The following slides represent my thinking about research process. The brick wall is representative of Western research, each brick representing a different discipline of paradigm, a philosophy, or a strategy, all framed by Western knowledge. Currently, when research is conducted and involves Indigenous peoples or is about Indigenous peoples and issues, it tends to be framed and contextualized by and within this brick wall. What we see in these slides is Indigenous knowledge, here represented by a bush potato or sweet potato within a blue circle, not within a lined box. It's next to the brick wall. When we conduct research, Indigenous knowledge gets pulled out of its centre in bits and pieces. So that, for example, if we're looking at research into some aspect of Indigenous health, Indigenous knowing about a particular plant, its seasonal growth, its specific medicinal powers, and so on. This knowing gets sucked in by the brick wall like a vacuum, where it's dissipated, dissected and contorted, and it can never be returned. Indigenous research methodology centres Indigenous knowledges. It uses information from the appropriate bricks and returns it as needed, as required. My colleagues from Desert, when asked if there were any words or a word that would mean research in their country and their language, in Amadura, they said, after a few days of thinking about it and talking about it, Nindrum Inkachak, which means sitting down in country, telling and sharing stories. My colleagues from Desert depicted Indigenous research methodology on fabric. The Indigenous research methodology that I used for this research in Desert, here portrayed by the Desert people, by my colleagues from Desert. Each of the colleagues' handprints are coloured according to their totem, their kinship, their relationships to country and with each other. Their totems are shown: the dingo dreaming, the brown snake dreaming, the green bean dreaming. You can see that the colleagues come from 4 different countries, and they've come together. You can see them coming together and being drawn into the centre, where we all sit down together in the centre and share stories. People, countries, relationships, belongings, all joined by footsteps of the researcher, of myself. Iconography and symbols from Jinta Art Design by Janet Long Nakamura have been used. The bush potato symbol at this part of my research journey representing Indigenous knowledge, and a symbol for community to represent coming together, sitting down, sharing and telling stories. The journey, this research, grows from desert through coast, through reading, through listening, through doing, and what's emerged for me is Indigenous knowing, represented by water lilies. There are many different types and colours and shapes of water lilies. Indigenous knowing, centering and privileging the water lilies. Using philosophies and paradigms and strategies from the brick wall, bringing them in, using them, releasing them, returning them. Across a contested space where a brick, a specific brick, decolonisation, is drawn and hovers. The iconography used by Janet Long Nakamura here takes on different meaning for me as the researcher. The sweet potato, the bush potato, now represents decolonization, and specifically mind mapping, a tool that I've talked about to deconstruct and to decolonize. Community, sitting together, sharing stories. Yinjarum, Inkachuk, a Majara word. Sharing stories not only in desert, but in coast. Sharing stories as seen in these photographs on earth, on sand, in desert and coast. Shared by doing, telling them and showing them. Shared on body, through body painting. Indigenous research methodology. Centres and privileges Indigenous knowing.